Weirdos, weirdos, balls and ghouls, how are we all doing? Today, I'm going to be talking about Uncanny. So to start, I am what I like to refer to as a skeptical believer. I have had experiences that I believe are very real, experiences that I've not been able to debunk. And since those experiences, I have been investigating. And since those experiences, or specifically since Most Haunted first hit the waves, I've been investigating, trying to recreate or to recapture those events from when I was much younger. Mostly coming up empty-handed. I lived and breathed the paranormal TV shows for a long time, but then the wheels started to fall off when you see the same thing week in, week out. You see equipment that is not fit for purpose, giving false positives, or worse. People are triggering those devices just to get the pop from the audience, to keep the viewer attention, to keep people hooked into that show. Because shows like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Brothers, Destination Fear, before Zach got shot of them all because he's a bitter man. I'm half joking. They have TV network bosses. There are executives sat in an office that don't care one way or the other if ghosts are real. They want the money. They want advertisers to be promoting on there. They want the maximum amount of viewing figures on their channel. And it is safe to say, with the likes of Most Haunted back in the day, Zach Bagans and everyone he's influenced now, and the people that have been and gone in between, paranormal on mainstream TV has been in such a dark, dank place for such a long time. To the point where, if I have to sit through an episode of Ghost Adventures, I feel more stupid for it. There are certain shows that I have mentioned that have parted ways with TV companies and they've come on over to YouTube, and that's where I've been introduced to them, and I can feel my brain rotting like I've just done a 12-hour binging session on TikTok. There's a reason I don't look at TikTok. Then a couple of years ago, well, 2023 to be precise, there was another TV show came out, Uncanny with Danny Robbins. Ooh. Oh, I've listened to his podcasts. I love the Uncanny podcasts. In fact, I listened to the Battersea Poltergeist podcast and the Hill Fenog Witch Farm before Uncanny was sort of this thing. I was captivated by it. I worked in an environment where there was a lot of loud machinery at the time, so I'd put headphones on under my ear defenders. I was never allowed to do it. Well, I'd listen to the podcasts. And even now, I listen to these podcasts on my way to paranormal investigations. It gets me in the mood. While they're creepy, while there are these overlaid sound effects, and in the TV show there are these images designed to jump scare you and freak you out, it's always counterbalanced by parapsychology. It is counterbalanced by, let's look at the scientific reasons that could cause this event, for example. Absolutely fantastic for me as a paranormal investigator that doesn't use the flashy equipment, that doesn't get jump scared by every knock, creak, bang, or rat fart. I like to look objectively, because once I have ruled out everything that is natural, maybe, just maybe, I'm left with something supernatural, something paranormal. So 2023, the first Uncanny TV series drops. I was a huge fan. Like, this is different. This is smart. Danny Robbins, fantastic host. He's very dramatic yet very pleasant. He gets his point across. He gets feelings across without bashing you over the head with him jumping about acting scared. He doesn't seem to just want the story from the people he's interviewing and then on to the next and find the jump scares. He seems to genuinely care about the people and want to help with these experiences that have traumatized some of these people. And of course, he has some help with him. Is Dr. Kieran O'Keefe, somebody that has influenced me massively as a debunker. They also have Evelyn Hollow, who is, again, has become an influence on me because she sits more in the camp of a believer, but with skepticism. You're not going to pull the wool over her eyes, and that's kind of where I sit. I'm a believer, but I'm very skeptical. And it's great to have those two different opinions and looks at it. We also have to look at what Uncanny does with digging into history, scientific experiments, and we'll get there in a little while. In the sea of this really bad mainstream TV content, and then YouTube, there's very few channels that I like to shout out and give credit to because there's so much rubbish out there. Falsified rubbish, or people without a clue about what they are doing, producing content to say, we captured a ghost, we have captured the paranormal, we've encountered a demon. Very bold claims that largely go unquestioned until a debunker steps in. But then a debunker steps in and the words hater thrown around, or bully, and all of that sort of stuff. So I just stayed away from the TV stuff. The one time that I did cover a TV show on this channel was Help My House is Haunted. And I'll say this as respectful as I can. It was the biggest pile of trash that I have ever had the misfortune of sitting through. To watch Barry Guy getting slapped around the face by ghosts or drop-kicked by ghosts almost on a weekly basis was infantile. To watch some guy who was just in the background of Most Haunted suddenly be this tattooed badass exorcist made me laugh. But what does this ordained exorcist, or whatever the term is for it, Barry Guy, this expert, and I still can't remember the lady's name, what do they bring to the field in their show? The same equipment. REM pods, spirit boxes, old school seance type things that have been disproved by people far smarter than me over the years. They brought nothing new except a new level of stupidity, in my opinion. Then the Uncanny TV show drops. I'm fully invested. Real people, real stories, objective looks into it. Last night, Season 2, Episode 1 of Uncanny dropped. The story is about this haunted farmhouse. Danny is his usual likeable self. He overpronunciates some words and he holds the words out as the camera zooms into him. You feel uncomfortable watching it, but it's by design. But then we'll cut to him sat in the pub talking to Kieran and Evelyn, and you're like, that was smart. In with the dramatics, and then, but there's a real world out there. Let's take on board what they're saying. It's very, very smart. In this episode, there are some wild claims. Claims of a chandelier flipping up 90 degrees and hovering in the air at 90 degrees. Kieran says that could be down to wind convection. As in, there is a wind tunnel somehow coming down the chimney, or through a window or a door or a crack, causes a funnel that will blow through the house, and that could create that. That is a really good explanation. I wonder how much wind it would take to cause that. Stack of encyclopedias seemingly levitating off a table and then landing on the floor. Wonder how much wind would cause that. And my issue with most paranormal shows is they would show a dramatic reenaction of these events and then leave it. It's fact, this happened. Not on Uncanny. And he goes to a wind tunnel. So he gets a scientific investigation into how much wind would it actually take to blow these items in the manner that was described. And then I'm sat there waiting for this wind tunnel to produce books blowing over and a chandelier moving 90 degrees. And both of those things happened. But they happened at a rate of wind that was so high you would never ever be able to experience these things in your house. For example, the books blew over at 50 miles an hour. Danny is barely able to stand at certain points during this as the wind ramps up. You would notice that in your house. The chandelier didn't lift until 90 miles an hour. And the expert that works measuring wind and the damage that wind can do, the scientific mind, said the highest recordings that are possible through convected wind, 27 miles per hour. So what I thought was going to be this incredible debunk was debunked by science. And that's smart. I enjoy that. To watch this episode and to watch Dr. Kieran O'Keefe, an idol of mine, sit there and say, I don't know. However, I can offer up alternative perspectives, yet not entirely disproving anything. Evelyn Hollow, there are certain things that happen in this episode where Evelyn is like, well, that could be easily explained, but when you link this, and this, what about the haunted nun? Now, Evelyn is a believer like myself, but very skeptical. But when it turns out to be potentially a haunted nun, he throws a few spanners in the works. Like, hang on. This place is close to a nunnery. It's rented out from a nunnery. So there's a reason for that particular ghost to be there. There's a good back and forth between all three of them, and there is a good back and forth with Kieran and the family. And what's really blown my mind about this is the grandparents experience things, parents experience things, the children experience things, but they're all grown-ups now that have discussed these events. And then friends of the child, who's now a fully grown man in his 30s, they experience things in these houses. There are numerous people that keep coming out of the woodwork that have had these experiences. And then there's some questions. Like, why would the mum and dad, grandparents, not tell the children, we experienced that? I believe I have an answer for that, because I was a child that experienced something in my grandparents' house. And I was never told that my uncle had the exact same experience. Why wasn't I told? Because my grandparents didn't want me scared of the house. I believe that's what's happened in this case. Why didn't the family just move? It's a farm. It's their business. They can't just load up a van with sheep, cows and whatever else they've got there for dairy and meat farming and transport it to another place. This isn't just their home. This is their livelihood, their business. What I enjoy about this even more is we leave it up to you guys. Are you team skeptic? Are you team believer? Send us in your thoughts. I've looked on Facebook at Danny Robbins and Kieran's profiles, and you can see these conversations. There's the odd person in there that is like, this is all bullshit. You're gonna get those. You will get the staunch skeptics that will refuse to believe anything and then poo-poo anyone that has any form of beliefs. I see them in my own comment sections, and that's fine. There's, John Wolfe has just done a very good video where he divides into 4 sections the types of viewers that he has, and I think that applies to myself, the other debunkers, and Uncanny. Then there was an after show, post-mortem Uncanny, where even more claims come out. They're not quite as wild as the claims in the main show, otherwise they would have been in the main show, but it's just more to add to this terrifying story. Story of a handbag just sort of skidding across the floor, and then they recreate that in a wind tunnel at, the speed of wind that could have produced in a house. A story of a mirror lifting off a wall and slowly just landing without breaking. Kieran O'Keefe gives his opinions on why that could have happened naturally. Kieran, whilst being very skeptical, doesn't disbelieve the family. He believes the family are seeing what they're seeing. But he wonders if there's a more logical explanation for what they're seeing, and then their minds filling in the gaps. Very smart TV, especially in the realm of the paranormal, where stupidity seems to reign supreme for the most part. And also where this TV show differs is it's not just a one and done. This is your 1 hour of spooky content. Let's just leave the family to it. We've scared them enough. This is a deep dive into parapsychology, into how the guests feel, getting their stories out and then looking for logical conclusions. But there's follow-ups, there's aftercare. You get the after show, but then you get Danny saying, these are the social media handles. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know your perspectives on this. Do you think you can solve this? And we will feature this at the end of the episode. And going by the past history of the show, as more information comes to light further down the road, these things will get highlighted, same as the podcast. They often go back and revisit old cases that they've covered because new information has come to light. This is the type of thing we need in the paranormal on TV and on YouTube. Whilst the production value is very high on this show, so hard to replicate for a small YouTuber, the processes that go on in the show are easily replicated for YouTube. For example, when people are doing these investigations into people's haunted claims, look with a skeptical eye. Have a team that vary on their beliefs so you can put everything into the pot and try to come up with something logical. It's the smart thing to do. But do it with care and compassion to the people that you're featuring in your episode. These people that are haunted. Whether it's by a ghost or just by their own false memories, who knows? But be supportive of them. Don't ridicule them. Don't mock them. Unless, of course, they are blatantly faking it. Like Smug Puppy, really haunted and the like. The people that are damaging the paranormal field. If you haven't seen this episode of Uncanny, you're probably better off going to watch it now. It's on the BBC iPlayer. I believe that's free in certain regions of the world. Go and watch the episode and then come back for this part. So they attempt to debunk chandelier lifting and hovering at 90 degrees. They attempt to debunk a handbag sliding across the floor, mirror coming off the wall, and really heavy footsteps up and down stairs. There's also other things that I can't really debunk with what I think may have caused some of these issues. The heavy footsteps up and down the stairs in a heavy old farmhouse. The sound of potentially a door slamming where there is no door there anymore. And the light lifting and a mirror coming off the wall. What could cause them? In a old farmhouse where the grounds go back to the 1600s, I believe they say. With its cattle, with its food. Now, I have been on investigations where the house is silent and suddenly it sounds like something runs down the stairs towards you, and then you quickly discover it's a rat. Rats, whilst moving around in the crevices and in the spaces between walls, it amplifies the sound so much that a couple of rats running through the walls next to the stairs could sound like an army of kids running down the stairs. A light fitting that flipped 90 degrees. Could that have been caused by a rat above there getting trapped into the cables to power this chandelier or to hold the chandelier in place? And then when the rat pulls, lifts the wire. Well, it can't go anywhere, so does the chandelier tilt? Potentially. But this happened numerous times. Is it possible for a rat or different rats to keep getting stuck in the same wire, to keep pulling this thing for the same effect? Potentially. Potentially, there's a logical explanation in there. A mirror falling off the wall without breaking. Now, Kieran gives an explanation that maybe this mirror didn't just lift and fall very slowly. It's a big heavy mirror, it should have broke, but there are numerous things in play that meant that it didn't break when it landed. We've had things fall off the wall that should break here, and they don't. Could it have been a rat behind the wall, and it's just vibrated and the mirror has fallen off? And it was just chance that it didn't break? Potentially. A handbag that slid across the floor. Okay, the family didn't spot a rat, but could a rat have run, hit the handbag, and then scurried off in another direction? And while the family are staring at this bag slide across the floor, there's a rat running in the opposite direction. Rats can get pretty big. Rats can get very big. They're noisy, they're fast, and they're black or brown, so in low light, are you actually going to see them? The counter-argument to all of that would be, surely a farmer would know the sound of a rat in his home. Rats, while noisy with the way they move, they also squeak a lot. They make horrible sounds. The smell of rat urine, if you've ever smelt a rat infestation where there's rat urine everywhere, it's unmistakable, the smell. There's nothing else like it. It's horrible. It stings the back of your nose. I'm not saying I'm right. What I'm saying is, could vermin play a part in this? So then you add in, has a rat created these footstep sounds and certain things moving, and then the family's brains are instantly in panic mode. They're fearful. And then as the fear and the panic and then the human imagination then filled in the blanks, they start seeing shadow figures. Are these shadow figures just mundane items that the imagination is misinterpreted as something else? But then even spanners are thrown in the works to that. The family never claimed to see a nun. They claimed to see a hooded figure. And my first thoughts were, oh great, here we go. Another black monk. They're everywhere. And it turns out the family home was initially rented from a nunnery and nuns. And then we delve further back. Evelyn does a fantastic job with looking into historical records. Danny does the same thing. This farmhouse is on the nunnery grounds. Not far from the house is a graveyard for the nuns. And then the harrowing tale of the children that these nuns were tasked to look after, and the mass grave that they are buried in, that the family claim not to have ever seen. Could they have lived it all this time and not seen this mass grave for children? Potentially. Could they have seen this mass grave for children and forgotten about them? As the son of the story, the focal point of this tale, been told about this nun's graveyard as a child and then forgotten about it? But then something in his brain is firing up filling in the blanks for these things that are scaring him at night. The little boy being seen is seen because the family, whether they remember it or not, are aware of this graveyard with a mass grave for children. Potentially, but then the argument for the believers is, surely it's proof that there is a mass grave there for children. That is the proof that there would be a Victorian era child being seen on occasions in this house. I mean, one person saw this child every day. The main focal point of this episode, the son, he's only ever seen this thing once, or this child once. But the history of the land adds credibility to the stories and what they are seeing. They didn't associate a nun with this place. Danny Robbins and his team did. Was the hood mistaken because it was a nun's habit? And when this was linked, my thoughts initially went to, oh my god, Conjuring Universe, the nun movies. Here we go. And then Danny actually jump scares us with a demonic nun rushing at the camera. It was very well done. I nearly soiled myself. It was great. But then it's counterbalanced with Kieran and Evelyn's thoughts on these things. Can't wait to see what else comes up about this episode and this case for Team Believer and Team Skeptic, because I sit somewhere in the middle. While I lean more into Skeptic, I'm a believer because of my own experiences. And up until this week, I'd become more skeptical than ever. I keep going to these places and nothing happening. You know, I go to the Ancient Ram Inn in the Christmas break. I go there with 2 other debunkers. We're hoping to experience just something, and we got nothing. Absolutely nothing. But then this week, I go on an investigation where, again, I am expecting nothing, and you'll see it when this video comes out. Something happens at this location that has reinvigorated my love in the paranormal, that has made me rethink how skeptical I am. Literally, something happened at the time, or a few things happened in this location that left me open-mouthed. And then my skeptical brain kicks in, the debunking brain kicks in, and I have to chase down these sounds. I have to work out what these sounds are. Maybe it's all in my head because I'm on edge in an abandoned property. And then I get messages from the team that I worked with saying, what you heard we've captured on our audio devices. I'm excited to either be able to debunk these things, or I'm excited to say I have no answer for these things. Could it have been paranormal? Possibly not, but the excitement to try to work out or to be left with no answers is fantastic. And this is what this show mirrors. Kicks in your skeptical brain, but it also kicks in your imagination and the belief in the paranormal. This show is a beacon of hope in the paranormal on the BBC, on mainstream TV. Whilst there are elements of being jump scared, whilst there are elements of making things creepy to lure you in, it is done with style. It is done to maximize the viewership retention and things like that. But it is always counterbalanced with the serious thoughts, the let's look scientifically, objectively, parapsychology. Let's bring everything in and see what we can come up with. And for one of the first times, you see Kieran looking unsure of himself. Kieran O'Keefe is just sat there like, this is very difficult for me. Not often that happens to Kieran O'Keefe. And then, of course, he says, however, in my opinion. And that's the bit I love, where Kieran is honest in, I don't know, but then I have an opinion. I'm not saying that's right. Kieran ultimately believes this family believe these experiences. So does Danny, so does Evelyn. This is not these three trying to poo-poo anything away, or for one to bolster everything up to be completely real and then another to counter-argue with this all rubbish. It's like a cooking pot of all these different perspectives and to see if there's a meeting in the middle. Unfortunately, that's not the experience I can ever produce on YouTube, because Paranormal Field on YouTube is just so dead end on one side or the other. There are very few channels that toe a line. It is, we are fake and everything must be believed. There's the odd channel that will say it's fake, it's there for your entertainment. And then there's the real guys, the guys that go out and capture nothing week after week after week, and then eventually they may produce something and they inevitably get labelled as fake by skeptics. Complete skeptics. Complete skeptics will question absolutely everything, and I'm not slating them for it. We should question absolutely everything. But a general rule of thumb for me is, if your favourite team are out there week after week after week not capturing anything, and then they capture something, maybe take them at face value for that. By all means question, but maybe not accuse them of faking. But we are now a far cry away from most haunted screaming and attaching ropes to themselves to get pulled upstairs and all this other nonsense that was going on. We've got some smart TV shows developing, and with these TV shows being so successful, I'm hoping that it'll breed more smart TV shows, which inevitably should filter down into YouTube, and we will start to see more smart paranormal investigations on YouTube. Not watching video after video after video of REM pods, EMF meters, spirit boxes, SLS cameras, and dead bells, and all of this other junk that doesn't work. Flashing and people jumping about and screaming and running away and doors slamming. We already see it with the likes of the Ouija Brothers and Ghosts on Trent, where a door will slam and they will go and investigate the door and then prove, hey, there's a broken window there. We've just debunked this. Ooh, look at that. That coat has just slid off that chair. What a weird experience. But if you listen in the background on the replay, you hear a car hit a drain lid. It's fallen because of a vibration. We've debunked that. And while these teams may be disappointed that they've debunked it, they're doing good work by debunking. I said this last year and I was proven wrong. I thought the paranormal was on the up on YouTube, and it descended into chaos across 2024. The claims were getting much more bold. The stupidity seemed to be growing at a rapid pace. Hopefully now with Uncanny making its Season 2 return and bringing some logical and thought-provoking ideas to the paranormal, maybe, just maybe, YouTube will start to follow suit. Because a lot of the teams that were pulling really ridiculous stunts are not doing what they used to do. Yasko now has a for entertainment purposes only in his description. Lainey and Ben have stopped the faking nonsense. Mindseed have all but disappeared from the paranormal. I don't even know what Mindseed are doing right now. They were reposting old videos, but they don't seem to be investigating anymore. True Paranormal have all but disappeared since the debacle last year. Maybe we're on an upward trajectory, because especially in the UK, some of the channels that were sat top of the pile in the UK, whilst they have massive subscriber counts, the viewership is plummeting for most of them. While it may sound horrible for me to say, good. I'm glad those views are plummeting, and I'm glad that the real paranormal may find that deficit and their views increase. And hopefully shows like Uncanny, like the paranormal with Shana Leary, maybe they can bolster and boost the real paranormal on YouTube. Or potentially talking out of my rear end, and nothing will change, but I'll still keep doing what I do. The real paranormal teams will keep doing what they do, and the fakers will keep doing what they do, influencing people to investigate in the wrong way. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Have you watched Uncanny? Did you enjoy it? If you haven't, and then you go and check it out and want to come back and let me know what your thoughts are, I'd appreciate that as well. Much love to you all. Beardo